what's up? No, nothing much. Oh, yo, I got a question for you. You free Friday? Nah, I think we could grab a coffee or something. Is that cool? Yeah, I know this super dope place. I haven't really had time. It's gonna be nice to just make time for some coffee. See you soon. I've been thinking. A cup of coffee always makes me think of you. Yet, as the day goes on and the caffeine fades, I begin to wonder if you're thinking of me too. Then I realized that I should have let you know. Let you know that I saw you in the reflection of every sip. That the aroma of roasted beans took me to the moments when you greeted me good morning. That the warm mug in my palms only simulated the comfort I felt when you held me. And that is coffee to me. But you see, admittedly, I don't always make time for coffee. I'm always skipping meals, caught up in thrills, finding excuses to pour that brew without wanting to steep with you. Soak my grinds running deep with you. Letting the steam rise as a byproduct of my drive spitting heat with you. Fuck. I need to make time for more coffee. But I think you gotta make some time for coffee too. Well, happy episode 5, friends. I made a cute little short one for you guys. I guess the topic of the week is making time. Making time for coffee. Um, I will say that recently I had a conversation with a friend about the importance of making time. Um, it was one of those things where you're catching up with a friend at a bar, and you're trying to talk about life and all that type of good stuff. Um, and then this conversation comes up where you begin to think about how old your parents are getting, how old your siblings are getting, how old you're getting, and then you start to have this existential crisis of what am I doing with my life? Am I happy with where I'm at? Is there more that I want to do? You know? Granted, we were like 3 cocktails deep, but the conversation was heavy. And then I just thought about coffee, which I'll get into here. Um, I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, by the way. Just want to get that out there before I dive in. Um, but yes, so here's making time for coffee. Um, so a lot of times when we think about significance of people or places or memories, it's really easy to associate it with one singular thing. Whether it's food, whether it's an object, or some type of souvenir that you have. But coffee holds a very special place in my heart. Um, leave a comment telling me what your favorite coffee is and how you take your coffee. But um, I am the individual that takes my coffee black. Um, on certain days, I love me a really good pour over. In a really big mug. um, but I drink coffee black because first and foremost, coffee makes me think of my heritage, my ethnicity. A couple years ago, when I went to the Philippines for the first time. You know, it was a good time because not only was it my first time there, but it was my first time my relatives ever meeting me. And so they were excited. I was excited. And they they did the thing where they were very being very nice and treated me with with all this love. Um, and I remember like at this time I didn't really drink coffee too much. Like it wasn't really like a thing that like I felt adoring love for. Um, every morning when I woke up, my auntie and my uncle would always ask me if I wanted coffee. Um, and like this, their house was like my family's house was like this little like cute kind of like mini village across from the ocean. And so in the morning, you would hear the chickens walking around, you'd hear the pigs snorting, but you'd also hear the the waves crashing just a little bit off into the distance. Um, and the house that I was staying in was one of the only houses that was made out of concrete. So it was the more stable house. But my auntie and uncle never failed to to ask me if I wanted coffee in the morning. And I will tell you what, this is the most grittiest fucking coffee I've ever had in my life. Like that instant like Nesquik coffee or whatever Nescafe coffee, because this is like kind of a province in the Philippines. Yeah, my uncle was making me coffee. He boiled the water in a kettle that he pumped out of the pump. And he just he put it on the stove. He was making the hot water, and he scooped two full scoops of just coffee grinds into a cup and poured the water right in there. No filter, nothing. And mind you, this is like one of the first times where like I was accepting black coffee, so you can kind of see that my first experience with black coffee was literally the most grittiest coffee in the goddamn world. But like I wasn't gonna tell my uncle no. I wasn't gonna tell my uncle no. He already had all this stuff ready. Um, and so I sat. I sat at the table with them, and I just drank coffee. Like it was kind of cold in the morning, so my hands were kind of gripping really tightly around this metal cup that they had. It was hot. Was wrapped around this like metal cup that they had. Um, and I remember like every morning was just that. I was there for 10 days, and every morning without coffee just did not feel right. You know, um, in a couple podcasts ago, I talked about how um my love and pride for being Filipino really resonates in my hometown. My city. A lot of my when I was there, I understood that my ancestors were creative. My family, my distant family is creative. The town that I come from is made of creative workshoppers and furniture designers and builders and like and masons and ceramicists and like it really transports me like this, just the aroma, the line that I said here, the aroma of the roasted beans took me to the moments when you greeted me good morning, when my family in the Philippines greeted me good morning. That is when that I will never forget. Me just I got like the sleepy sands in my eyeballs, just messy hair just coming out of the room. Like, oh my god, like I need this right now. I need this. Um, and so yeah, that's where like it ties me to my creativity and my culture for that. Um, but the other part is um even here in Hawaii, one of my first one of my first deals, or like bigger commissions with a business, was actually a coffee shop. Um this coffee shop took a chance on me, you know? Um for all of you that are in on Oahu, it is 9 bar, HNO and Salt Kaka'ako. They took a shot with me, you know, like I was like fresh out of university or whatever, and like a couple of my employees that I had at a summer camp that I ran, they also used to work at a coffee shop. And they knew the owner, and they were talking me up to the owner, and the owner just gave me a shot. No, you know what? I wasn't even graduated yet. I remember because I was learning how to like do digital graphics while like in school, you know? While like in school trying to like do all of this stuff. And so I didn't learn digital graphics in school. I tried to translate every single traditional drawing that I had for the mural into Photoshop and into Illustrator, and I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. But like it's so rare and it's so beautiful to have clients and people that want to give you a shot, you know? Like those are the people that you definitely want to seek for and like want to do work for, is people that have trust in you and people that will trust that you'll do a good job, you know? Like that's like the hardest thing with any client that you have, is having that trust that you'll do a good job for them. And so that was such a big learning like experience for me, and I'll never ever ever forget that. Like the way that I approach a client, or the way that I talk about things and interact in meetings and stuff like that, I will never, like, I learned so much just from working with them, that I carry it on to now. Funny story, like I remember the first meeting I had with the owner. um I sat and waited in the coffee shop until they were ready to have the meeting. I ordered a 16-ounce cold brew and sat and waited for this meeting. Mind you, I finished this 16-ounce cold brew um before the meeting started. When the meeting began, I was handed a nitro cold brew to taste test. I was also handed three different types of espresso shots to also test. And I will tell you, the amount of excitement and energy I had in that moment, I felt like I was going to lose a client because I was bouncing off the walls. I, and I remember this because on the way back home, I had so much like pent up energy like inside of me, that when I was driving down the freeway, I was like banging my head on the steering wheel. Like my literal hands were shaking on the steering wheel, because not only was I really happy that I felt like I nailed that like interview talk with the owner, but I was just so wired. um and so that's one of the memories that I have with coffee that just like will always be with me. Um the second part that I said here was, the warmth of my mug in my palms only simulates the comfort I felt when you held me. Um, Another big part that coffee plays in my life is my family, like my mom's side. Uh, my mom is like the youngest of seven, so she has a big family. Um, every single time we had family dinners, no family dinner was complete without coffee at the end. No matter what it was, no matter what time of day it was, no matter what day of the week, after dinner always followed coffee. And so literally like literally just the way that my family holds me, the way that my aunties hold me, the way that we show love and affection towards each other, like I associate with coffee. You know, the laughter in my house, the um the exchanging of love, and just, stories, was grand. It's always a good time. It's always a good time. And so that's another part for coffee for me. um now now we enter kind of the latter half of this poem that gets a little a little deep. um so the latter half of the poem reads: admittedly, I don't always make time for coffee. Skipping meals, caught up in thrills, finding excuses to pour that brew without wanting to sleep with you. Um, this is the part where I begin to realize that there's not enough moments where I bring that love and compassion, and that the warm feeling that coffee gives me. I don't reciprocate that enough. I don't know how much that is true for all of you, but there's been multiple times where I feel like I don't reciprocate that energy enough with people that I care about. Um, as someone that does art full time, as someone that does, like, basically runs their business, like, I do it all, and I pour a lot of time and energy into the things that I do. I need to try my best to always make time for coffee, make time for people that I care about, make time for individuals that give me that energy in the first place, you know? Um I think on multiple occasions I felt really bad, you know? I am guilty of living by a calendar and by a planner. And even for family events, if I wasn't notified in my planner of family events, I never attended. Um and when those type of things started to happen more frequently, um I realized that I needed to find ways not only to communicate that I want to know things more in advance, not only to my family but to my friends, and people that hang out with me, that I communicated with them, like, hey, like, I want to hang out with you, but I need to know, like, you know X amount of time, like, prior, so I can have time and make time for you. Like, if there's an open Saturday for somebody that I want to hang out with, I will give that open Saturday to them, you know? And if there's a family dinner that's somebody's birthday, like my goddaughter's birthday or something like that, and, like, I want to be able to put that into my calendar, so that I can make sure that I have time on this day. So establishing a better, like, communication process with my family, to know the events in advance as well, and not finding out the day of. Um, but that's part of, like, the planning part. Um, in my own household, I'm very much in my room a lot of the time, right? I spend a lot of time in my room because I'm streaming, or I am working on stuff, or I'm trying to communicate with my friends, or just play games with all of my friends online. Um, I make sure I make moments where, like, if I notice my family's watching a movie downstairs, I'll try to stay. You know, even if that movie's already 30 minutes in, and I notice that they're watching a movie, I'll stay. Um, Sitting at the table and having food, I try to make sure that at least once or twice a week I'm actually at the table when they're eating at the table. Um, and that's just those are like small things, but they add up to a lot. Um, I've been trying to make more, like, affectionate, physical, um, physically affectionate things from my family as well. Like, like occasionally, like hugging my mom whenever she gets home and I see her for the first time. Or if I see my dad, I'll put my hand on his shoulder and I'll say, "What's up?" Or if I see my brother, I'll give him like a, fist bump or whatever. And like even small gestures like that go a long way, I feel like even small gestures like that, making time to make small gestures like that don't go unnoticed. Um and it impacts it a lot, because it shows that you're trying to be there. You're trying to be there, like even in that moment, to recognize their existence, to join their existence, to share your energy with them in that moment. Um, and that's something I encourage a lot of you to do. If you can do something as little as that that can mean the world to somebody. If you look at one of the things that I found was super beautiful was that it was some of my good friends, they're dating, and it was their anniversary. They're doing long distance. It was their anniversary, you know, and what I ended up doing was, usually I just don't tell anybody anything on an anniversary, you know. But what I ended up doing was just taking a little bit of time out of my day to just make a small group chat, on like in text, and send them a memo and be like, "Hey, like I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Happy anniversary." Something small like that, like even goes a long way. And then like even that day, see, I was thinking about this so much about making time, that day when I was sending voice memos to them, I was sending voice memos to a whole bunch of people, that I care about and I was thinking of. Because there's even nothing wrong with sending somebody a message saying, "Hey, I'm thinking of you right now. I just wanted you to know." Like it's not a lot of energy, even for someone that's super busy. That's not a lot of energy. And you can dig up that energy just that little bit. Um Man, yeah, really when I was going back to that moment when I was talking to my friend, about the idea of time moving forward. The concept of time is going to continuously move forward and there's nothing we can do about it. First of all, don't sit around and ponder and think about what you're going to do for too long. As much as planning is very important to that process, you're not going to move forward unless you act on it. Time will continue to move on whether you decide to move or not. So move a little faster, but don't forget anybody else along the way, you know? Um cuz that's the reality of things. Everything lives on a timer. If you're going to get upset about that, then go ahead. Everything's on a timer. Nothing lasts forever because the most beautiful things never last forever. My mom, when I was growing up, she she always pestered me about looking my best. Looking my best every single time I go out, and saying goodbye and hello every single time I saw somebody. There was a time where young Zach asked why. Asked why. And I was definitely a teenager or like 10 years old, and my mom would always tell me, "You never know if you won't see that person again. You will never know if this is the last time that you spend with them. You will never know if this is the last time you tell them hello. You will never know this is the last time you tell them goodbye. And you'll never know if this is the last time you tell them I love you." And if you really think about that, it's true. It is the tragic reality of the world. Then you got to remember that there's more moments to look forward to. And whenever those moments come, you make them the best moments that you possibly can. So make time for some coffee today. If you haven't made time for coffee already, I think today's the perfect time to make some coffee. But thank you guys so much for being here again. Episode 5. We got a full handful of episodes. It feels fucking good and fantastic. You know the drill. Wherever you are in this goddamn world that we live in, always remember to stay awesome and stay beautiful. If you are following this podcast, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram, zachj.angeles. New updates and new art and new things coming to you really soon. Very, very exciting things happening in 2022. And a lot of the poems that are coming up, well, they're going to be posted in very grand places. So be excited for all the writing here to come. Take it easy, guys.